Y'all so much. Hope y'all have a great day, and I hope I said something that resonates with you today and makes you feel a little bit better about your position and just like life, because you deserve to be happy. You are worthy, you're valued, you're loved, you matter. And let's kick this mental health awareness month off with a bang and just do our thing.
Oh, you ain't know me? Copy that. Oh, you don't like me? Copy that. I got your attention. Copy that. Not to mention, copy that. Since I was 6, I've been the sickest, but they must have forgot. Ain't finna tell you how I'm coming, won't you sit back and watch? This for the ones who always talking, tryna play on my talk. I already had that nigga that you rebounding got. I'm from that rec gang with all of that. The shots I'm calling it.
Wagwan! What's happening, beautiful people? How you doing today? You know what I'm saying? I hope y'all are feeling refreshed. It's a new day. It's a new month. Is this the first episode of the month? Period. Okay. Y'all, life's had so many changes this past month alone. Well, first off, run it back. Welcome back, spiritual sirens. It's so lovely to see y'all again and y'all see me. But yeah, life has been a lot. I'm not gonna lie, this has been really mentally challenging for me. April was really mentally challenging for me. It's just like, but for the first time, I actually felt like prepared. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went through everything I went through, but I didn't lose my shit completely. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still was headstrong. I still made the decisions that I had to make, even when they were hard ones. And I kept it pushing. Because that's kind of all that we can do. That's really all we can do. And it's like, that should be your sole focus, you. What you can do. Not only for the situation, but just for yourself. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of times we get so caught up in the situations that we're supposed to be growing through that we tend to put all the weight on our own shoulders, and it's like so hard to grow through it when you're all you can focus on is what you're going through. You feel what I'm saying? It's hard to alchemize that energy into something more positive when you're so stuck in the negative. And it was just a lot of revelations, honestly. I feel like the more I work through my trauma with like therapy and stuff, the more I actually remember my childhood more clearly. And it's just been a lot of things popping up that I didn't remember. Not that I didn't remember before, but I was really good at pushing things so deep down that I just wouldn't think about it. Because I'm neurodivergent, and I also had some revelations with that. I found out not only, because y'all know, I was diagnosed with severe depression, severe clinical depression, and ADHD in like freshman year, sophomore year. Not only that, but I was talking to a medical professional as of late and just experiencing or explaining all the different things I experience like on a daily basis, just being overstimulated and like my social anxiety in crowds just being like so horrible. Like, I usually, for a long time, even now it's like hard for me to go into the store without like earbuds and stuff like that. Like, I can't go into large areas without some type of like music or distraction. And that's why I'm always so obsessed with like my technology, like my phones and stuff. It's like I always have to have something to distract me from the outside world, so it's not so difficult to just exist. And a lot of people, especially in like the African culture, it's like a lot of stuff is taboo when it comes to the health of your brain. Biggest thing I would say is probably like autism. I found out that I'm highly functioning on the spectrum. So that was really. Oh yeah, today's a get ready with me too. So I'm gonna be doing my makeup while I talk, but I just want to talk about the serious stuff and then talk more about it as I start. But yeah, so that was really like clearing for me because I have autistic family members, as well as I worked with autistic kids in high school for like 2 years of my high school, experience. I was an aide. Well, it was 1 year because I graduated a year early, but I was a PE aide for special needs class. So I was on. It's like I've always understood on a different level, and I just thought like maybe I just understand everyone. Maybe it's because I'm experiencing the same things. And it's just really frustrating because like when people hear highly functioning, they don't stop playing with me, y'all. They don't stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. Hopefully I can cut that up. Anyways, when people hear high functioning, it's like they think, oh, that means you don't experience the same things. But the amount of internal chaos I deal with and I've always dealt with, it's like it always made me feel like an outcast. Like even when I was a little kid, I would never really be around my cousins. I'd always like be by myself in the corner, and, like, or I'd be with adults because everyone would just leave me alone or stuff like that. So like I've spent a lot of my life really like everyone, I guess, a lot of people favored me growing up because I was so intelligent. Just saying what they told me. But no, I was just like really wise for my age. I've always understood things like on a really deep level. So it's like, but it's because I always just like buried my head in books and learning like computers. I remember I had a computer class in like 3rd grade. From then on, I was like obsessed with computers and technology. I knew everything. My parents would ask me, and also, immigrant family. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm technically not the first generation American because I'm also an immigrant. I was born in Liberia, but I've been here since I was 2, so like I was raised here. So I understand a lot of the customs really early. But it's also because I did a lot of research at a really young age. Like I was very into technology, and it wasn't the best thing, especially being so young, because I got hurt a lot with the technology. Like the cyber stuff is crazy, and obviously like your parents won't really be thinking that you don't really think too much of it when you don't really understand how vast the internet is and how people can reach you so easily. So a lot of really messed up things can happen, and that sucks. But like I've always just been really connected with different things, and I've always felt like I never belonged in the normal social settings. Like I was really good at masking, because as a kid I had to learn really early like how to mask my feelings in order to protect myself. You feel what I'm saying? Because if I had a certain emotion that I was showing that wasn't approved of, it'd be an issue. So it was like I had to, whether it be inside my home or whether it be out in the world, just being a little black girl. It's just so much stuff that you encounter that people don't really realize. And it's really hard, especially being a kid that understands so many things, but the people that I'm around all the time don't. So it's like even more of an outsider. So I became even more reclusive, but no one would really notice because I was still able to function in all like the regular activities. I would play basketball, so it's like I had to learn how to communicate properly on the court. So I think that really helped me a lot, because on the court it's like I'm learning life skills, but it's in a way where my body has something to focus on, like with my ADHD, so I can actually understand what's going on instead of like being in a classroom and just having to sit there and sift through all the different thoughts going through your brain while also trying to listen to the teacher and learn. So I was always really smart, but I hated school. It felt I don't know the proper word to say, but it just felt so set in stone, so scripted. Everything just felt so scripted. It never really felt like I was really gaining new information. It just felt like I was being educationally groomed, if that makes sense. But that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother day. Whole nother day. Whole focus today is really like, you know, my experience at 21 and understanding why I used to do a lot of things I used to do or react the way I used to react, because I used to have really bad meltdowns. Like when I like felt overstimulated, or there was like I felt like I was in fight or flight a lot, and I didn't understand like why I always felt like I had to. Oh, there are reasons, but outside of that, why I would always felt like I was in survival mode, even around like at school and stuff like that. It was really hard because I felt like I had to watch everything that I said, and I just thought it was because of the African culture. Things can be a little tight as far as freedom, especially when it comes to like speech and speaking your mind. Really young, especially being the eldest, it can be really hard because you're like, obviously for the eldest in every family, it's like you're the kid that we have to figure it out on. So it's like, what can you do but repeat the same things that you experienced, if that makes sense. So it's like you're only going off of what you've experienced because you can only do all what you know. And especially coming from a whole different culture to here, it's like learning how to find balance and learning new things and learning new ways to go about things, but obviously still consistently reverting back to what you know because it's what you know. But aside from that, it was just like I always felt like I had to watch everything that I said. Everything that I said had to be so utterly perfect. And I for a long time I blamed my parents for a lot of different things that they didn't really see as that big of a deal. But it's like I could something that was me not seeing that big of a deal, like it was like it would be crazy for me. Like I would get really overstimulated and I get really frustrated and I'd just be silent. That was my biggest thing to do when I was upset. I would just be quiet. I wouldn't say anything. So like, and also with that, it's like because I was reactive to things that seemed like they weren't a big deal, but to big things, I would just revert into myself. It didn't make sense. So I get that part. I really do. And even like with small things, like I just thought my 7th grade teacher in middle school, she just called me meticulous one day because I was explaining to her like how I only ate things in twos. And if you know me, that went on well into high school. Even now, it's kind of hard for me to not count when I do certain things. Like I would like even you can ask my brother, like when he would give me candy and stuff, if it wasn't an even number, I would not eat it. Like I would split it in half and give the other half back to him, or I just give the whole thing back to him because it had to be in some way even. Even with like if I was like eating cereal, I would count the amount of like let's say Cheerios on the spoon, and if it was an odd number, I would like take one off or I'd scoop up some more. Like I just thought these were funny little quirks, but no, you know what I'm saying? And it's not like a bad thing. I just want to bring awareness because I feel a lot of people, especially at my age and younger, especially being Black in America, our mental health is not it's getting a lot better. I'll say that definitely. Things all around are getting a lot better, but being Black in America is hard. It is so hard. And on top of that, having mental health things or just your chemical science, it's not centered in on enough. So we're going off of information and statistics based off of people that don't look like us or have our experiences. So a lot of times we get misdiagnosed, or diagnoses are just missed completely because our behavior, instead of placed where it's supposed to be, is placed under a stigma. It's a stigma that we're all taught, so it's like now we just normalize the stigma. It's like we suffer silently, not because we can't have a voice, but just because our voice is not listened to in the places that it should be. So that's really difficult. I'll definitely say that. I'm about to start though, because I do have a meeting with a business partner in like 30 minutes that I have to leave for. But this is not sponsored. They need to pay me, run me my coin. Like, these people are getting their coin for these commercials, but we're just gonna ignore it. Okay? We're gonna ignore it. But I go in with some moisturizer per usual. We gotta keep the skin in, especially in this heat, y'all. This summer heat is wild. It's a madness. They don't respect me, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So this is gonna be something quick. Like, this isn't even gonna be something OD. It's gonna be quick. I'm gonna go in with my Tarte Poreless mattifying primer. I'm obsessed with this primer, y'all. It's so soft, but the consistency is so perfect that it like just smoothens over your skin. That's why I really like it. Cause y'all know, like, it's gonna be an everyday makeup look, but I don't wear makeup every day. I'm starting to experiment more like I used to. I used to experiment a lot in high school. Like, I was good. Like, I was real good, y'all. Like, me and my hands just go together real bad with everything. But yeah. But back to what I was saying. So yeah. So it's like I was around like the understanding of it my whole life. But because I was on a different side of the spectrum, I didn't feel like my experience would be validated the same. And instead, it would be looked upon as me trying to be an attention seeker, I guess. But I'm a little kid. And especially when you're missing certain things as a kid, you start to believe that you're the problem. And you can't be the problem because you're just learning. You're literally just learning, trying to experience life and figure it out with no experience to learn from. So obviously you're gonna make mistakes, and sometimes they're not always looked on like that, and it can be hard to make those mistakes or feel like you can't make mistakes. But I'm here to tell you that you can, because mistakes are nothing but lessons. Because after a mistake, you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. So I really, really hope that you can take solace in that and understand that you are doing amazing, honey. And I am so proud of you if you haven't heard that today, because a lot of times we don't really get that life spoken into us like we would crave. And that's what we need as humans. Like, we're all supposed to speak life into each other. No one's meant to be alone. So it's like, but sometimes it doesn't feel like everyone cares in the way that you would like them to. But at the same time, everyone has their own things that they're dealing with. So we have to learn to give that love to ourselves, because we can't depend on it from anyone else. It's just not realistic, especially not in the world that we live in today. We can hope and we can pray that people grow at not the same speed, but with the same understanding so that we can grow together. But that's not always guaranteed. And we have to be okay with things not always being how we would like them to be to make us feel the most comfortable, because everything is always happening as it should, so you learn how to make yourself more comfortable. So even if you have to go through it once, you'll recognize the signs to never let that happen again, right? So it's okay. But yeah. And then I'm about to show y'all after I apply, but I love me this powder so bad because I don't wear foundation. I'm gonna lie, I got some nice skin. Thank you to my parents. You know what I'm saying? The genetics be geneticking. I love that. Oh yeah, y'all, your girl's website is out. Period. I'm gonna insert
Hey, spiritual sirens. It's your girl Faith, CEO of Soul Child Styles LLC and Spiritual Sirens. I'm back at it again to show y'all what's new and what's popping on our pages. Please follow all of our social platforms as well as check out our new website. We have put so much hard work into it. Please check it out, see what you like, and also shop for my new FDA approved 100% organic health and wellness storefront. Keep popping!
But yeah, this powder be powdering, child. This powder be powdering. It's the Laura Mercier Ultra Blur powder. I don't know what shade it is, but it's like close to my skin tone. I use a lot of powder. I feel like that's what sets my makeup so well, because I could do a quick little routine like I'm about to, and it'll look like I have a full face and I'm not wearing foundation at all. I don't wear foundation. So that's cool. I need to get an actual setting spray. This is just water I'm putting on my face. Bombastic side. But no. See? And I be having like these little tics and stuff. People always just thought I was just weird. So people actually used to ask me. One of my exes was convinced I had Tourette's. And that's not to crack jokes. That's like I just had a lot of experiences in my life that I knew weren't socially normal, but I couldn't really understand what they were. So it was just like I was just, thugging it out, just accepting the fact that I was a weirdo. I was like, that's how I felt. And that's the sad part, because I feel like a lot of times, there are definitely times where I outcasted myself in order to protect myself so that I wouldn't have to experience things I had already experienced for being myself. Because a lot of people just really didn't understand me growing up. And it's like, it really sucked. I'm not gonna lie, because I constantly felt like really alone. So it's like, I think that's another thing of where my like depression and stuff really originated from. It was more so from just a lack of understanding. I just didn't understand myself and no one else did either. So it's just like, I was just sad all the time. Like, feeling misunderstood, it drove me to a lot of different things that just hurt me even more and just made me even sadder. I'm gonna be like, I like to keep it raw and real with y'all. Like, I already told y'all, I've had 7 suicide attempts since I was like, I remember my first one was trigger warning, was when I was like 12, because I was understanding like certain things that I'm just not prepared to talk about yet. But I was experiencing certain things and kind of like stole my innocence. So that was really hard for me. And I remember this one time I just got a knife. I was in my like hard rock metal era. That was all I listened to. I was just like, that's when I first started being just angry. Because I was angry for a long time as a kid. And people were like really confused. But it took me a long time to even understand that just like so many things were happening that just no one really knew or were prepared to talk about. So it's just like, I was just looking for an escape. As a kid, I understood what death would be like, but I didn't. I understand the actual repercussions of what my actions would be if I were to make those steps. So that was really hard. And I don't really talk about that. Really, I didn't forget that happened, but I suppressed it so well to the point where like it just wasn't there anymore. Or I thought it wasn't. And I thought it wasn't affecting me either. But the reality is, when you suppress your emotions, they now have freedom to roam as they please in your mind. Because it's not that they're not still there and not still clearly affecting you, but because you choose to ignore it instead of deal with it, it has free roam to just torture you, and in ways that you don't realize, like how you treat people. You feel what I'm saying? I used to say a lot of really hurtful things because I was just angry, and I just wanted to understand why life was the way that it was. So people that may have been sent into my life to be a blessing to me, I wasn't prepared for that blessing because I was still so deep in my hurt and running from my hurt that I was allowing my hurt to control me. And that was just so hard because if you know me in real life, you know I'm a very gentle, very sweet, very caring person. Like I've been doing community service work for as long as I can remember. You feel what I'm saying? Whether it be in church, with my parents, at the soup kitchen. I remember my parents took me to the soup kitchen, I think with my aunts and stuff one time when I was younger. When I was working in corporate sales, every Friday I wasn't really getting that much from them checks either. I was working like 3 jobs at the time. I just moved out of my parents' crib the first time. I was like 18, 19. I was working like 3 jobs at the time, including my hair business, like just working. But every Friday when I would get those little checks that were going straight towards my car now, you feel what I'm saying? That I would spare like $20, $30 and go buy some snacks at Target and just go hand it out to like the people that I saw on the streets and stuff like that. Because even though I couldn't like provide money that would do anything for them, I could provide them something to fill a little hole in their stomachs for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm grateful for my experiences because even though I went through it the hard way, or there might have been easier routes for me to go through them, I learned it a way that a lot of people do. So now that pain isn't for nothing. Because of that pain, I can now connect to those people who have the same pain and speak to their hearts, not just their minds, and tell them what they already know. Because even with therapy, it's hard because there's not always that emotional connect to make you feel like you're being understood. There can be the intellect piece that's connected. That's easy. It's easy to go up on Google. No, I'm not saying like therapy is easy. Please don't get that mistaken. Because that would completely not make sense with me just saying that mental health isn't taken seriously. Please. What I mean by that is it's just harder to trust people. I think that's what a lot of people lack, especially in their hearts, and that's why it's so hard to connect, because it's hard to trust people when you've been hurt to a certain degree, or which is different for everyone. So it's just like hurt now kind of clouds judgment on what words you can trust, because you're always trying to read between the lines to see if someone's trying to manipulate you or just say something for their greatest good instead of yours. So it's like, because you don't trust, it's like, well, what's the point of having those connections? And they more often than not end up dwindling and contact is lost, because it just seems like everyone's wasting their time, because there's no like real ground that can be held between, because there's no trust. So that's been another thing that's been really hard for me. But now understanding like why I do certain things, or why I used to do certain things, or why certain things happen, it makes it a lot easier. Not easier, but it makes me feel like I can start trusting people again, and like not feel like I have to be masked all the time. I've been doing a really good job lately of not masking myself and just being me. Because I'm just like a really sweet, happy person. For real. Like, I've been through a lot, but I'm a really kind person. I'm really forgiving too. And it's like, I'm not forgiving simply because I allow people to like walk all over me, because that's not something I do anymore. I don't play about myself at all. And I had to learn that the hard way so that I would never allow that to happen again. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's another reason why I'm grateful, because experience really is the best teacher. Because once you felt that pain, once you felt that anger, that rage, that hurt of not being understood or not being heard, you won't let that happen again, because that's not something that feels good or something you would allow yourself to endure if you had the choice to not let it. Simple. Doesn't mean I recommend it. That's why I recommend connecting with people, because that way you can hear through other people's experiences so you don't have to experience it yourself. That's why I'm so big on this podcast. That was like the whole original thing. Allowing people the space to learn from each other so we don't have to go through a lot of things ourselves, because it's hard sometimes to bounce back. Let's be so real. It's really hard to bounce back from certain things sometimes, and sometimes you don't always want to. And you don't want to let yourself get to that point, because then it's just like you have so much in this world to do, but you're not allowing yourself the possibility to see that because you can't get past the now. But the only way to get past the now is to understand the now and how we got to the now. So the past, your past, your past of yourself, past of your memories. You have to understand the whys and everything, because there really is a why in everything. And that's why a lot of times we get so frustrated and so angry, because we don't understand the why. And we feel like the why is being hidden for us, but really we're hiding from the why. Because we're scared that if we understand why certain things happen to us, we will no longer be able to draw validation from that happening to us and justify how we treat other people from the things that we've been through. So unfortunately, a lot of times it's an ego thing. People don't want to grow up and, face themselves. That's the hardest thing to do, face yourself, because that's where true growth comes from. You can't grow your mind and your spirit, your soul, your heart be in the same position, because then you're still acting from that space. Regardless of how much things that you learn or how many new ways you learn to go about things, you will still have you always have the possibility to revert back to your old ways, but when you're doing it unknowingly, it's because you don't realize the root of them. So you can realize that you're doing certain things and do your best to stop it, but if you don't understand why you do it, you're not going to be as quick to recognize that you're doing it. So then you're going to only be able to say sorry instead of just preventing it in the first place. And that's a hard thing to do, because that means you have to face the thing that you've been through, face the people that hurt you, and stand on your own 2 feet. And also be able to hold accountability for the parts that you played in what you've been through. And that's another hard part, facing accountability. Because I think a lot of times we want apologies to feel validated. Not to actually forgive and release, but we want apologies to feel validated in how we feel. A lot of times when you don't know why you do certain things, more often than not, you're doing it to validate something that you feel internally. So that's just behavioral patterns, like I said earlier. But you can't break those patterns when you don't know what the pattern consists of in its entirety. Not just the reaction of the pattern, but the build up to get to that reaction. That's how you learn how to grow. Understand the process to get to the product. You can't skip the process and just snap a product into thin air. It doesn't work like that. Even with manifestation, you don't just say you want things and then boom. That's something different. You feel what I'm saying? When you ask God for things, at least like coming from this perspective, like you also have to do the work. Faith without work is dead. So how are you saying that you want certain things, you want to experience certain things, but not allowing yourself the space to growth by learning where that growth comes from, the roots in that growth? Because we all come from somewhere, something. We all have a past. But learning what happened, allowing ourselves to remember in entirety what happened, and allowing ourselves to understand why it happened, not just from an emotional standpoint, but also be able to allow the emotions and the intellect to coincide so that you can form a proper conclusion that is not just based off of one or the other, but both, because that's what you are. You are not only intellect, but you are emotion, you are heart and mind and soul. The soul is the collection of that. So to act from the soul, you must first learn how to understand your mind and your heart so that your mind and your heart can work together in unity. A lot of times we don't have unity within ourselves, so it's hard to find unity in our decisions. That's why we're always still second guessing our decisions, even though anxiety and other stuff, if you deal with that, like, obviously can be a struggle. But a lot of times we second guess our decisions because we know we only made it from one point of view. We know that if we had taken the time to understand, there could have been different ways to go about this a situation, so you wouldn't be apologizing, but instead be proactive. But as I said, mistakes happen, so we have to learn to give ourselves grace so that we can actually have the strength to go back, understand, come back, and do better. I'm so glad that I was able to learn that at such a young age, because it's provided me a whole different type of perspective that allows me to not only forgive, like truly forgive, and not forgive like after I don't need closure anymore, if that makes sense. Like a lot of times we apologize for closure. Either we want an apology or we give an apology for closure purposes, to feel like we've completed that cycle with that person or whatever. But that's not what forgiveness is supposed to be. God didn't say forgive a man 7 times 70 for the sake of outward validation, like, okay, cool, I don't have to keep going back and forth with this. It's for you internally to be able to release it. Because a lot of times we like to say forgive and forget, but you're not really forgetting anything. You can't forget that, because if something has hurt you, you can't forget it. It's always going to be something that's going to be connected to some type of memory and going to pop up again. That's just how we are as human beings, and that's okay. But what we have to learn how to do is forgive and release. Because a lot of times we say we forgive and then we still hold on to the old version of that person that hurt us. But how can you expect yourself to ever trust that person again if you won't acknowledge the fact that they are not who they were in that moment? We are never the same person for more than a couple seconds. Okay? And that's a choice. You choose who you get to be. So if you were a shitty person yesterday, you can choose to be a better person tomorrow, or an even worse one. It's a daily choice. That is free will, and we don't understand it to that extent because we allow ourselves to believe that we just do things. Like our behavior isn't derived from the things that we've been through, the things that we've experienced. Like we aren't all human sponges just absolving and understanding the world around us. So it's like, how can you say that? You feel what I'm saying? How can you say that and say that in the same breath that things just happen, that you can't be held accountable for your actions? It's okay to make mistakes, but it's not okay to blame the past when you refuse to face the past. Because if you're just gonna keep blaming your past, then you're just gonna keep putting more past under that what I say on Instagram. I said when you forgive and forget, you're really just pushing emotions under an emotional rug until you get to the point where you can't keep hiding those emotions, because it's gonna get overfilled and you will get overwhelmed. So it's just like, that can be dangerous. I know I'm not gonna speak on the situation entirely, but I know it was like a crazy situation that happened last December, and a girl that I knew, I think she was shot and killed by her ex. So it's like those emotions, and I've met the guy, so it's like at the time I never would have expected that from him. But that's the thing, people don't understand. When you don't go through your emotions, especially with men, unfortunately, with our Black men, because of all that we've all been through, it's hard to really dive into that the way that we're supposed to, that y'all are supposed to. Because y'all are taught to not feel or to cover your feelings in order to protect your family. But the only way you can protect your family is to be in tune with your own emotions so that they don't control you. Because when you're not in tune with your own emotions, you can't recognize when you're coming from an emotional standpoint. And sometimes you can if you're very controlled, but at a certain point that becomes manipulation, not only of those around you, but manipulation to yourself. So why manipulate yourself into thinking that you're okay when you can genuinely be okay by just healing and releasing? Not only forgiving those that hurt you, but forgiving yourself for allowing it to happen, because it was meant to happen for you to learn. That's why understanding that things happen for a reason is so important. Learning to trust your journey and the things that you deal with is so important. Because when you don't realize things are happening to you because they're supposed to, not like you're supposed to be hurt. No, I don't say that, because we all have the ability to make decisions, right? So we have different paths that we can go through due to those decisions. So if you choose a certain way of living, even also all those things can happen sporadically. My belief though is that we all have a karmic debt that's to be owed. When you hurt someone, when you speak badly on someone, that's a karmic debt. You feel what I'm saying? And God's gonna call you for that because it's a form of discipline. He has to discipline all his children, because you can't you can't say that God loves all of us and then you think it's okay to hurt one of his kids and he's not gonna whoop that ass. Just saying. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you can't say that. But it's not always that. Sometimes people also move in spiteful manner. I know me, I think I had like 3-4 people try to set me up this year alone. We are in the 5th month of the year. Why y'all so mad? Why y'all so mad? Like, what? Anyways, that's personal stuff. I'm not even gonna trip over that. It's not even about to get my attention. That was just funny to me, because it's just like, you have to understand that people will do what they do. You only have control over yourself. So in saying that, why not have the most control of yourself possible by learning yourself, so that no one will be able to not only control you, but influence the way you behave. Because when you don't know yourself, you don't know your triggers. And when you don't know your triggers, anyone can trigger you. And if anyone can trigger you, you can end up doing something that you never thought even you could do, simply because you didn't know how to control yourself, because you didn't know yourself. You didn't know why things affected you to the extent that they did, so you couldn't protect yourself from them. And that's not even talking about the situation. I'm just talking about life in general. When you don't know your triggers, it's easy for people to control you. It is. And not only control you, but it's hard for you to have control over yourself. because things might happen that you might not think is a big deal, but your soul does. And when you come from a reactive place, because all of a sudden someone else reminds you of that, then now you're hurting this person and in turn hurting yourself because that person was sent to you for some reason. You feel what I'm saying? You're hurting yourself and you're hurting them from a place of misunderstanding. And I'm guilty of this. I've done this a lot too. And I've lost a lot of like friendships and relationships that could have been fruitful because I was so scared to face myself and the things that I've been through. I've always told myself, because I didn't have the best, my parents did what they could, but as far as being able to recognize a healthy partner for myself, I didn't have that example. I had outward examples that looked like how I thought I would want it, but that's just because it didn't look like what I had been through. It doesn't mean someone else isn't going through something equally as bad for them in their eyes. So it's like learning to not look for an outward source of love and to teach myself how to love by loving myself has been life-changing for me. Because now I don't look for any type of external validation. I just do what makes me happy. And that's what real love is, happiness. Safety, feeling safety within yourself. And you can only feel safe within yourself when you know yourself. And when you've taken the time to learn yourself. Yo, I'm trying to rush because the time went way over what I can talk for days, yo. I swear I could talk for days. But yeah, so it's just like, I just want y'all to understand. Don't be afraid to be who you are and learn who you are. Just because certain things about yourself might frighten you, fear is only misunderstanding. And hear that when I say this and what I mean. Fear is usually from a lack of knowing. And when you don't know something, obviously it's gonna be scary to you. When you don't know or recognize something because of how a lot of us are brought up, or just like the culture, especially here, like people are always just fearful of what they don't know. And what is the point of that? If God has put everything in this earth, then how can one person say one thing isn't meant to be here just because you don't recognize it? Right? That's the whole purpose of life, to understand and to grow in understanding. So the only way you can grow in understanding is to actually put yourself out there and actually take the steps forward to see what works for you, what makes you happy, what makes you feel free, what makes you feel like you can do everything that you want to do, because you can. What steps that you take that are different from yesterday's steps make you feel like you can achieve the world? Because everything really is right in your hands. You just have to allow yourself the belief and to allow yourself to recognize that you are worthy of it. And it's not a happenstance that certain things are brought into your life. You feel what I'm saying? You are worthy of every great thing that God gives you. Every great thing. You feel me? Every great thing that God gives you, it's because you can handle it. A lot of times we mishandle a lot of blessings because we're scared that we can't handle it. We're scared that it's not right for us. It's not what we, from our understanding, especially because we grow and change so often, we get so stuck in the now that we don't realize what things can be fruitful in the future, if that makes sense. But y'all, oh, this Patrick Todd bus just makes me happy. I'm probably just gonna put a little mascara on, cause I'm literally supposed to leave right now. But this is just a soft beat. Just wanted to do a quick get ready with me. I'm wearing glasses today, so I don't really have to put on lashes. Hallelujah. I'm dead, but I grabbed my my laptop, my iPad and stuff. Your girl is a businesswoman, y'all. I got my website up. I already told y'all, put that up there. Please go check it out and let me know. And also, y'all, I have 100% organic, oh, FDA approved health wellness storefront with my partners. Please go check it out. Buying something for me, and it's just like everyday stuff that you use. Buying something for me will also help fund Spiritual Sirens to get us to the point that we really want to be at by the end of the year, which is a nonprofit. But in order for that to happen, I have to be able to get certain things so that, we can legitimize Spiritual Sirens, not only like legally and stuff like that, but just for, fundraising and stuff like that. So I love y'all so much. I should put the glasses on later because of the light. But I love y'all so much. Hope y'all have a great day. And I hope I said something that resonates with you today and makes you feel a little bit better about your position and just like life. Because you deserve to be happy. You are worthy. You're valued. You're loved. You matter. And let's kick this mental health awareness month off with a bang and just do our thing. Okay. Love you.